Hello and welcome. With this video, we start a new series on our channel, Album of the Year, where we celebrate the greatest studio albums from rock's most legendary decades. And where better to begin than 1972, arguably the single greatest year in music history. Progressive rock reached its creative zenith. Hard rock was evolving into something heavier, and artists pushed the boundaries of what an album could be. Studios became laboratories for sonic experimentation, and musicians were creating art that still sounds revolutionary today. 12 months, 10 absolute masterpieces. From 23-minute prog epics to hard rock perfection, 1972 delivered an embarrassment of riches we're still trying to match over 50 years later. This isn't about sales figures or chart positions. This is about artistic brilliance, innovation, and albums that redefined rock music. Let's dive into the top 10 best rock studio albums of 1972. At number 10, we have Santana's Caravanserai, the album that confused millions of fans expecting another black magic woman and instead got a spiritual jazz fusion journey. By 1972, Carlos Santana was deep into his spiritual awakening, following guru Sri Chinmoy. This wasn't just personal, it completely redirected the band's sound. Most of the original lineup had departed, with only Carlos, drummer Michael Shreve, and organist Greg Rowley remaining. In came jazz heavyweights like Tom Coster and a young Neil Schon, who would later co-found Journey. The album's title references a caravan, reflecting Carlos's vision of a spiritual journey. Recording in San Francisco, the band improvised extensively, creating lengthy instrumentals that prioritized atmosphere over hits. The album is largely instrumental, with vocals appearing on just 3 tracks. Commercial radio struggled with tracks like Song of the Wind or the 9-minute closer Every Step of the Way, but the album still went gold. Critics eventually recognized its brilliance. Caravanserai marks Santana's transformation from Latin rock band to jazz fusion pioneers. It's meditative, explorative, and utterly fearless, a complete departure that somehow worked perfectly. At number 9, it's Black Sabbath's Volume 4, the album they almost called Snowblind until the record label panicked about the drug references. And yes, the band was absolutely living up to that title. Recorded at the record plant in Los Angeles in early 1972, the sessions were fueled by massive amounts of cocaine. Tony Iommi once admitted they blew through more cocaine than recording tape. Somehow, this chaos produced one of their finest albums. Volume 4 shows Sabbath at their most experimental. Changes features piano and mellotron, a genuine ballad from the godfathers of heavy metal. Supernaut grooves harder than anything they'd done before, while Snowblind is a masterclass in heavy riffing. The album's centerpiece, Wheels of Confusion, stretches over 8 minutes of proto-progressive metal. Bill Ward's drumming is phenomenal throughout, and Iommi's riffs remain absolutely crushing. The album proved Sabbath could expand their sound without losing their heaviness. Darker, more varied, and somehow even more compelling than their earlier work. A genuine masterpiece born from absolute chaos. At number 8, it's Emerson, Lake and Palmer's Trilogy, the album that showed prog's most bombastic trio could occasionally dial it back and create something genuinely beautiful. Recorded at Advision Studios in London during the summer of 1972, Trilogy came at the peak of ELP's powers. The band was touring relentlessly, and this album captured them refining their formula rather than exploding it. Keith Emerson was still destroying keyboards nightly, but here he showed more restraint and sophistication. The album opens with The Endless Enigma, a multi-part suite showcasing their classical chops. But the real heart of Trilogy is its quieter moments. From the Beginning features acoustic guitar from Greg Legg and became their most successful single, proof that ELP could write an actual song when they wanted to. The title track blends all 3 members' strengths perfectly, while their adaptation of Aaron Copland's Hoedown brought American classical music to rock audiences with typical ELP bombast. Trilogy represents ELP at their most accessible, without sacrificing their ambition. It's still complex, still virtuosic, but more focused than their previous work. The production is pristine, and the performances are flawless. At number 7, it's Gentle Giant's Octopus, widely considered their masterpiece, and the album where their multi-instrumental madness reached its absolute peak. Recorded at Advision Studios in London in late 1972, Octopus featured the classic Gentle Giant lineup. The three Shulman brothers, Derek, Ray, and Phil, Kerry Minier, Gary Green, and John Weathers on drums. Between them, they played over 30 different instruments on this album: violin, cello, recorder, trumpet, saxophone, and medieval instruments most rock bands didn't know existed. The album's concept loosely explores different facets of human experience, with each track representing a different tentacle of the octopus. The advent of Panurge opens with its infectious, complex melody and intricate vocal arrangements. Knots is based on R.D. Laing's book of the same name, featuring mind-bending vocal counterpoint that sounds like a medieval round on steroids. The musicianship is staggering. These guys could switch instruments mid-song without missing a beat. The production captures their intricate arrangements perfectly, with every instrument clearly audible in the complex mix. Octopus is Gentle Giant at their most ambitious and successful. It's challenging, rewarding, and absolutely unique. At number 6, it's Wishbone Ash's Argus, the album that perfected twin lead guitar harmonies and influenced everyone from Iron Maiden to Thin Lizzy. Recorded at Delane Lee Studios in London in early 1972, Argus is a loose concept album about a medieval warrior. The band, Andy Powell and Ted Turner on guitars, Martin Turner on bass and vocals, and Steve Upton on drums, were at the peak of their creative powers and chemistry. The album's genius lies in Powell and Turner's interweaving guitar work. They didn't just trade solos, they created harmonic tapestries that were both intricate and memorable. Time Was opens the album with beautiful, atmospheric guitar work, while Throw Down the Sword closes it with an epic, emotional crescendo. Warrior showcases their heavy side. Blowin' Free has an infectious guitar riff that influenced countless bands, and The King Will Come features that distinctive twin guitar approach that became their signature. The production captures the band's live energy perfectly, and the songwriting balances complexity with accessibility. Argus is progressive without being pretentious, heavy without being brutal, simply a perfectly crafted rock album. At number 5, it's Deep Purple's Machine Head, the album that gave us rock's most famous riff and captured one of the greatest lineups in hard rock history at their absolute peak. The album's creation story is legendary. Deep Purple arrived in Montreux, Switzerland in December 1971 to record at the Casino using the Rolling Stones mobile studio. During a Frank Zappa concert, a fan fired a flare gun, burning down the entire venue. The band watched from their hotel as smoke drifted across Lake Geneva, inspiring Smoke on the Water. Forced to relocate, they recorded in the corridor of the Grand Hotel using the mobile truck. The Mark II lineup, Ian Gillan, Ritchie Blackmore, John Lord, Roger Glover, and Ian Pace, was firing on all cylinders despite the chaos. Highway Star opens with pure adrenaline, featuring one of rock's greatest guitar solos. Lazy showcases John Lord's Hammond organ mastery, while Space Truckin' closes with cosmic hard rock perfection. And yes, Smoke on the Water has that riff. Simple, perfect, and eternal. Machine Head is hard rock at its finest, powerful, precise, and packed with virtuoso performances. It's the album that defined Deep Purple's legacy. At number 4, it's Gentle Giant's Three Friends, their first proper concept album and proof that they released not one, but two masterpieces in 1972. Recorded at Advision Studios in London earlier in the year than Octopus, Three Friends tells the story of three childhood friends who take different paths in life. One becomes a working man, another seeks his fortune, and the third pursues artistic dreams. It's a cohesive narrative that flows seamlessly across the album. The band's multi-instrumental approach was already in full effect. Prologue opens the album, setting the scene before diving into the story. School Days captures youthful innocence before the friends' lives diverge, while Peel the Paint explores the artist's struggles with brilliant instrumental passages. Three Friends itself serves as a centerpiece, featuring their trademark complex vocal harmonies. Kerry Minier's keyboards and the Shulman brothers' versatility shine throughout, with instruments ranging from violins to recorders, weaving intricate musical tapestries. The production is remarkably clear, considering the density of the arrangements. Three Friends showed Gentle Giant could create a unified artistic statement without sacrificing their complexity. It's slightly more accessible than Octopus, but equally rewarding, proving 1972 was truly their year. At number 3, it's Genesis's Foxtrot, the album where Peter Gabriel's theatrical vision and the band's musical ambition collided to create progressive rock perfection. Recorded at Island Studios in London in the summer of 1972, Foxtrot featured the classic Genesis lineup: Gabriel, Tony Banks, Mike Rutherford, Steve Hackett, and Phil Collins. The band had found their chemistry, and it shows in every note. The album opens with Watcher of the Skies, featuring Banks's ominous mellotron, creating an apocalyptic atmosphere. Get 'Em Out by Friday satirizes landlord greed with multiple character voices, showcasing Gabriel's storytelling prowess. Can Utility and the Coastliners demonstrates Hackett's guitar wizardry, but the centerpiece is Supper's Ready, all 23 minutes of it. This multi-part epic journeys through biblical imagery, surreal landscapes, and apocalyptic visions, climaxing with Apocalypse in 9/8. It's ambitious, occasionally pretentious, and absolutely magnificent. Gabriel performed it live wearing bizarre costumes, turning concerts into theatrical events. The musicianship throughout is flawless, with each member contributing essential elements. Banks's keyboards create atmosphere, Hackett's guitar adds color, and Collins's drumming provides power and precision. Foxtrot is Genesis at their peak, complex, dramatic, and utterly confident in their vision. At number 2, it's Jethro Tull's Thick as a Brick. The album that's technically one 43-minute song came with a full 12-page newspaper and proved Ian Anderson had a sense of humor as sharp as his flute playing. Recorded at Morgan Studios in London in late 1971, the album was Anderson's satirical response to critics calling Aqualung a pretentious concept album. His solution? Create an actual concept album so ridiculously over the top it became a parody of the genre while simultaneously being brilliant. The fictional premise? The lyrics are a poem written by 8-year-old Gerald Bostock, rejected by the literary establishment. The accompanying newspaper, the St. Cleeve Chronicle, is filled with fake ads, articles, and absurdist humor that rewards close reading. Musically, Thick as a Brick is anything but a joke. The composition flows seamlessly through tempo changes, time signatures, and moods. Anderson's flute work is extraordinary. Martin Barr's guitar adds power, and the rhythm section keeps everything grounded despite the complexity. The album topped charts on both sides of the Atlantic, proving audiences appreciated both the humor and the musicianship. It's progressive rock that doesn't take itself too seriously while being technically stunning, exactly what Tull did best. At number 1, it's Yes's Close to the Edge. Quite simply, the greatest progressive rock album ever made. Recorded at Advision Studios in London during the summer of 1972, the sessions were intense. The band, John Anderson, Steve Howe, Chris Squire, Rick Wakeman, and Bill Bruford, spent months perfecting every detail. Bruford left immediately after recording to join King Crimson, making this his final statement with Yes. And what a statement it is! The 18-minute title track is a masterclass in composition and arrangement. It flows through distinct sections, from the opening chaotic soundscape to delicate acoustic passages to explosive crescendos, yet feels like one cohesive journey. Every instrument has space to breathe while contributing to the whole. And You and I showcases the band's gentler side with beautiful harmonies and Howe's intricate guitar work. Siberian Khatru closes with driving energy and complex interplay between all 5 members. The production is pristine, the performances flawless, and the ambition perfectly realized. This is progressive rock at its absolute peak. Technical virtuosity serving genuine emotion and musical vision. Close to the Edge isn't just the best album of 1972, it's the pinnacle of what progressive rock could achieve. And there you have it. The top 10 best rock studio albums of 1972. From Yes's progressive perfection to Santana's spiritual jazz fusion, 1972 gave us a year of music that still sounds revolutionary over 50 years later. These 10 albums represent rock at its most creative, ambitious, and fearless. If you've made it this far, you clearly share our passion for music. Hit that like button, subscribe for more Album of the Year episodes, and let us know in the comments. Did we get it right? What's your favorite album from 1972? Any glaring omissions? 1972 set an impossibly high bar, but we'll keep exploring the years that shaped rock history. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.